Madam Clerk.
Okay, Councilmember Von Rudenberg,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims, Dave,
Muted.
Yeah.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Yeah.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. We're up to the flag salute.
Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go right to the agenda. Ted?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council, invited guests. This is the Committee of the Whole agenda for Monday, July 20th, 2020, 6 p.m. First is a discussion in reference to the intro to the ordinance permanent no cash policy for the city of Hackensack. Steve, you want to make any comments? Or
No, well, we went to a no cash policy via resolution temporarily during the COVID crisis because of concerns that potentially cash could be a transmitter of virus. We've been doing this for several months. Reports back are that there have not been any major complications as a result of this. And in consultations with the tax collector and others who are involved with the handling of cash, the thought was that we should make this a permanent policy. It turns out several other Bergen County municipalities have done so. In case anybody asks, there's actually was a lawsuit years ago as to whether municipalities are required to accept cash as legal tender for all debts, and the case law is that you do not. You do have the right to legally implement this. There are exceptions for de minimis purchases, $25 or less. Tickets at the Hack Pack box office if and when Hack Pack opens again, hopefully sooner rather than later, and for cash bail and other matters at the municipal court, where legally we are obligated to continue to accept cash. But by adopting this ordinance, the volume of cash that the city will collect will permanently be reduced. And I think for fairly obvious reasons, it's not a bad idea to have as little cash as possible coming through City Hall. It presents security risk. You have to handle it properly. You have to deposit in the bank safely. And it's just never a good idea to have significant amounts of cash if you can avoid it. So for those reasons, the administration suggested that this ordinance makes sense to implement on a permanent basis. And so that's what we're presenting to you here tonight.
Okay. Any questions? Number two.
Number two is a resolution increasing the minimum bid threshold. The city of Hackensack, like all municipalities, starting July 1st, a new bid threshold will be $44,000 will be the new quote threshold, will be $6,600. So the state has increased it. The only action that we really have to take is if we want to make the maximum lower. I can't imagine that the city is interested in doing that. Just the cost of inflation would, round us up. I don't think that $44,000 is the new bid threshold, and the quote is $6,600 is an unreasonable amount of money for the city of Hackensack and all municipalities to handle. So we're just keeping in with the times and the state of New Jersey. Is there any question?
No.
Okay. Number three is the discussion of the streetscape and stormwater bid update. The city received, as discussed, please find 3 recommendations from Suburban for bids that were open on 7/14/2020. One was South Newman Street and Temple Avenue was a rebid for $194,338.50. Engineer's estimate was higher. The second is the Main Street Phase 1, Cerfelli and Sons General was $672,712.45, and the engineer's estimate was higher. And the Main Street Streetscape Phase 2, Cerfelli and Sons Contractors, was for $1,297,292.70, and the estimate from the engineer was also high. So right this minute, all of these came in favorably to the city, and unless the council has something, we probably should move forward with these and award them and continue to move this process along.
Okay. Any comments? No.
Number 4 is the discussion, the condo co-op board name modification.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. And by the way, just because I forgot to do so earlier, we did meet in closed session earlier tonight, and I always announce the name of the cases that we spoke about in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We forgot to do it. So just for the record, while I'm online, we did speak about 4 cases, the Vriesma case, the Luna Diaz case, the Deschamps case, and the continuing city affordable housing litigation. So just want to get that on the record. With respect to this ordinance, I'm going to ask that we do not introduce it tonight. This ordinance came from a request from the condo board itself, which indicated that the name in the city code does not reflect what it is named on the city's website. So we introduced this ordinance to make them, and what they go by on the city's website is what they are commonly known as. It doesn't properly reflect the issue of apartment dwellers as being part of the board. After we introduced it, we sent a copy to the condo board, and now they've asked that the name actually be changed to something slightly different.
Yeah, the name is, I'll give it to you. The name is the Condominium, Cooperative and Multi-Unit Rental Building Advisory Board.
That's what they want.
That's what they want.
And if you have no problem with that, we'll amend the ordinance to say that. But I told them, I said, it's one thing to change it to reflect what's already on the city's website. But if you want to change it to something different beyond that, you know, the council needs to make sure they don't have any particular objection to it. So
no problem. I don't have an issue. Anybody have an issue with this? No.
Nope,
It's the name change.
that's right.
Right.
yeah, it doesn't affect any of their duties or responsibilities. It's
No.
just they believe this properly reflects
Well, it's more inclusive.
what they
All right.
do.
Can I just say something, Mayor, just so you know, when we get, it, right now it's on the docket. So when we
Right.
get, one, we'll just pull it. It's one of the ordinances for tonight, so we'll just pull it. It hasn't been introduced yet, so we just need to pull it from the meeting for tonight.
Well,
Yep.
can we just change the name, amend the name and introduce it?
No, we have to pull it and
All
then
right.
do it the next meeting.
We'll get it
They're perfectly fine with that. I told them, I said, look, you know, this is going to take an extra meeting because I'm going to
It's a
want to bring it to the
substantial change.
council. Yeah. Just the whole point of the ordinance is what are we going to call this board? So it's the only matter at issue. So yeah, it is a substantial change. And I think we're just best suited to pull and reintroduce at the next meeting. It's no big deal. They've been going like this for a while. It's just been something they've been asking us to do. And with the coronavirus, we didn't get around to it, but now we have. So, you know, if they wait another meeting, I'm sure they'll be fine with it.
I don't have number 5 here, just to see if it's.
Yeah, it's a NEA grant. The 2 ladies from the grant, because they originally want to put a full-blown presentation on. And we decided that there wasn't that much to talk about. This is, let's see here. This is a national endowment for the arts, making funding available to support projects for the arts, cultural design activities, and effort to strengthen community by advancing local economic, physical, and social outcomes in our town grant program. City of Hackensack desires a further to public interest to obtaining a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts through our town grant program and the completion of Demers Place Cultural Connector Planning Initiative. Whereas a total estimate cost of completing this project is $100,000. The National Endowment of the Arts requires that applicants provide non-federal match at least 1-to-1, and the City of Hackensack is requesting federal funds from the National Endowment Arts through our town grant of this project, whereas the City of Hackensack will provide $50,000 in non-federal funds for this project. So basically, the max is 100. We put in 50. They put in 50, and this would go to the improvements in cultural design of our property at.
This is Kathy. I looked into this today. We've been talking for a while about cleaning up that whole Demers Place.
Right.
And the fact that it connects, you can take Demers Place from the bus terminal and you can walk up to Main Street and then continue on to, the back of where the garage is leading into Hackpack.
Right.
So, and, we had done some artwork there before, but, there's more things that we may want to do there. And, it actually is a dual purpose. It connects, definitely into the Hackpack, but it also brings people from the bus terminal to Main Street too. So there's actually like a multi-use in us doing that. And it's something we've talked about doing for a while, and seeing that there's grant money out there, why not go after it? So that's
one of the first things they have to do is improve the lighting.
Lighting. I mean, we talked about a fountain,
So,
different shrubs. I mean, there's ways we can make it look a lot nicer.
because from that corner, from Murray Street all the way to the Hackpack, that corner is really, really dark.
Yeah. Well, we can really do a good job, I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. And my last is discussion of the recreational park permits. We got some of our concerns of the park monitoring, bathroom facilities, coaches abiding by COVID rules and keeping and use practices only, no games, no tournaments, approval waiver, reviewed by our city attorney. So basically, I'm looking for some direction of the council. Do you open baseball? Do you open basketball? Do you open soccer? The problem is baseball is probably the least amount of contact. Basketball, there's contact there, and obviously soccer, there's contact there. So I'm just trying to find some middle ground that we can live with. I'm curious to see what the COVID-19 numbers come across, because unfortunately our numbers, not our numbers in this state, but nationwide, are going up. And my fear is we're just going to have another shutdown.
So I have some input in regards to baseball, at least. So my son's currently on the 10U team, and we have been utilizing other parks and other towns for both practices and games. And I have to tell you, the kids, coaches, the spectators are all following the strict guidelines that are in place. So some of the guidelines that they have mandated and they follow is everyone's getting temperatures before the game, temperature checks and recorded, hand sanitizing after every inning, spacing out so there's no more than 4 kids in a dugout. So they're bringing their own chairs and they're sitting, 6 feet apart. They're not sharing or touching each other's equipment. Even the teams have their own baseball, so our team's throwing around the ball. The other opposing team is not to touch the ball. The umps aren't even to touch the balls. So, those protocols are in place, and we've witnessed a few games and practices, and there has been no issues, no complaints. You know, I know some of the concern is, well, is it fair to open up baseball and not other sports? But you have to look at the game. In baseball, there's no contact. I'm, you know, not an expert in soccer or basketball, but, you know, in basketball, you're sharing a ball, your hands are all over the ball. There is, you know, body contact. I am all for it. You know, past few council meetings, I'm all for encouraging kids to get out. I've always expressed that. I have a much bigger fear of more things happening to our youth by sitting behind video games, getting into a rut and not exercising, not socializing, whether it's, you know, being, you know, overweight or not socializing, depressed. I mean, I think it's a lot more harm. If we can host games and have these kids out on the field and still abide by the guidelines, I think that's what we should do, and we should encourage that. Again, all of our neighboring towns in northern New Jersey, I can rattle off, you know, all of them pretty much are allowing the use of fields, even the use of, you know, private baseball clubs to run camps at their facilities in Paramus, and, you know, we play in all different towns, and everybody else is allowing it. If there was a way to modify, you know, other sports to allow not to be contact and follow those guidelines, then I would absolutely be for that too. But I don't think we can be of that mentality where, you know, it's not fair for just one sport to do it. You know, do I think it's fair that, you know, restaurants can't let their patrons go inside yet while they can go into retail and, you know, different businesses? No, but does that mean we told, you know, all our other city businesses, no, sorry, you can't, it's not fair to the other ones? You know, I have 3 kids, some do baseball, some don't. I'm not going to tell my son that does baseball, sorry, you can't because it's not fair, your sister and brother can't, you know, wrestle or do gymnastics. You know, we have to phase back into it. And if it's a safe sport and we can do it safely, then I don't know why we wouldn't.
Well, related to the soccer game, the only thing you can do is maybe practice drill. You can shoot the ball from 20 yards to the goalie, and most of the handle of the ball is with your feet. But to play games, it's like a full contact. You gotta go close to the other guy to get the ball. I am afraid that kid's gonna get infected. They're gonna bring the infection to their houses, their parents, their grandparents. And I don't think so that you can play games. That you can do the drill, yes, but no play games, you know. And there were people playing in Baldwin Park. I already warning them, and I called Ted. Ted explained today that there's no way they're gonna have a full game. So for the last few days, I think maybe 3 or 4 days, I don't see people in Baldwin Park doing so. And if I see somebody, I'm gonna do something because it's not right. It's no way that we be sitting home for over 150 days, and now we're gonna come back to square one, yeah, because some people don't wanna listen. So I agree with you, Stephanie, that baseball is a different game. It's more a stationary game. It's not really contact, but other sport like wrestling or basketball or whatever, soccer including, they need to be in contact to play the game. So that's my opinion.
So Stephanie, with baseball, are you talking about just kids and who live in Hackensack on this team? Or are you talking about kids who live in other towns on this team?
It's a travel team, so it's through Baseball of Hackensack.
I'm talking about on the Hackensack team.
So we have Maywood and Rochelle Park too.
See that we don't even, we're worried about another town, Maywood and Rochelle Park. We're not worried about the kids from Hackensack. I bet
Yeah,
you
but
Hackensack,
we're abiding. But what do you mean we're worried about them?
we got 3 or 4 kids from Hackensack on each one of these teams, and we're extending it so that Maywood he wasn't even a ascending district anymore, and Rochelle Park. That doesn't make any sense.
That's but again, it goes back to the premise. Are we going to deny the Hackensack kids the chance to play and when they're following the guidelines because it's not, you know, because we're offering to somebody else? I mean, we're talking about kids here. Kids are kids. I want to encourage all kids to get out and play.
We're talking about 2 kids on your team from Hackensack. We want to open it up, and how about let's just open up Fashini Park, you know, is Green Acres. Let's open it up to softball too. They don't live in Hackensack.
We're more than 3.
Excuse me?
Am I allowed to speak? I don't really know how this works. I apologize.
Who's this?
If there's
I'm sorry, it's Barbara Maxby. I'm a softball coach and
It's not open. It's not open yet.
open.
It's not open yet.
Yeah, you'll have 3 minutes to comment on this when the council finishes its discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
whatever we can do to safely, again, if, like Leo said, if you can do drills for soccer or do different things. I mean, I could tell you we have more than 3 kids from Hackensack on our team. But whatever it is to get these kids out. I mean, we're not taking the field space away from anybody. We're able to socially, to distance and follow the guidelines. Why wouldn't we allow them to? Just because another sport isn't safe? So we're going to punish these kids? That doesn't make sense to me.
Nobody's punishing nobody, but I see we're opening the doors for 4 or 5 kids, like I said, from Hackensack. And, just because Maywood is opening up their baseball field and Rochelle Park, that doesn't mean we have to do the same thing or follow suit.
Every town in northern New Jersey is opening it up. Every town.
I talked to Rose today, and it's no more. It's 70 towns in Bergen County. No more than 8 or 9 have opened up.
That's not true, because I played at more than 8 or 9. It's not true.
Dave, if it's safe, if what Stephanie's explaining is it's safe for these children and they're getting exercise, why not let them use the park? I don't understand why we would say no.
Let's let soccer use the park. I think soccer is safe.
Let soccer use the park the way Leo explained it. Why not? Just
Absolutely.
for drills, not for contact.
Absolutely.
Absolutely do it.
But
I mean, listen, we're a big wrestling family. Would I ever say we should start wrestling? No, absolutely not. But there's certain sports that you can, and baseball is one of them. So why are we going to listen, they're going to be back in school soon. The cold weather's coming. They have a small window to get out there. And hopefully we don't see another spike and we don't come into another situation again. But we're going to deny these kids an opportunity when all the rules and regulations are being followed, when every other town's allowing it, when, there's no contact or sharing of, equipment or anything like that, and everything's being followed. We're going to just say no because we can't allow other sports to open. I don't think it's right.
Stephanie, I love every sport out there. Every sport. I don't think it's safe. That's my opinion.
Well, come to one of our games and let me know if you feel differently, because
let me chirp in. I got an 8-year-old grandson. I've been to about 5 of his games so far. I play Paramus, but the thing is, it's a travel team. So you're playing. You mentioned other towns. You're playing other towns anyway. So if you merge with another town, it really doesn't matter. You're playing against other towns to begin with. So whether you're playing with some kids from another town or playing against another town, that really, that argument doesn't hold a lot of water. But the bleachers have the kids' names 6 feet apart on their, taped to the bleachers so they know where to sit. Only so many kids in the dugout. Balls get changed. They don't use the same. They change catchers. They have to have different set of catchers equipment. I mean, they go through all kinds of things that you normally wouldn't do. And if you think these kids aren't out there playing together during the daytime anyway, a lot of them, I see them all over the place. But I understand the concern. Everybody's worried about the spike, but if it could be done safely, I think you do it. I think it's safer playing baseball than going to ShopRite. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ted, what do you need from us? Do we want to poll the council? I mean, what do you need from us to be able to say we're going to allow certain things? Maybe baseball will be allowed following rules. Leo mentioned soccer, but only for drills, not a game. I mean, maybe we need to start looking at what we can and can't do and see how many of us want to do that.
So if this is the direction of the council, what I need to do is to sit down with Rose and the coaches and have a discussion on how they think this should be facilitated. I try to avoid, other than, the rules of state mandate under executive order for COVID-19. I don't
just
normally
make sure every practice or whatever they're doing is organized, whether it's baseball, whatever they're doing needs to be organized.
Right.
So has to be somebody accountable.
Okay, so my thought immediately, if that's the case, we're going to meet with the people of baseball, and then if that's successful in 10 days or so, then we'll have a discussion with the soccer people, and we'll try to phase this in, because the truth is, none of this is set up, and I don't have anything structured or planned, so we'll go from there.
But if other towns are doing it, we can learn from them. In other words, if it's going on in other towns, we can certainly say, how are you doing this successfully? And then don't reinvent the wheel. Let's use their rules and try it
Yeah,
out.
follow the same protocol from the other towns. Get that in writing, Stephanie.
I totally agree. I want the names of the towns.
I wrote it down, Dave.
And if
I knew it was coming.
How many chances are we going to give them to, I don't want to say mess up, but mess up?
No, I think you get a warning, and the second time
You're out.
stop them from practicing. You get
I'd
one
say you're
warning.
out the first time, just like we do with construction companies. One time, you sign a contract. When you're going to play here, one time we catch you with that, not abiding by these rules, you're done. That team is allowed back. That's it.
So that I agree with that. So if each one of these teams mess up one time, it's over. They're out.
They can't use our fields. That's it.
I'm
They have
okay
to
with
understand. They have to sign in writing like we do with construction, so they know what they're getting into. There's no pulling any punches. You have to
Understood.
enforce these rules, and that's it.
I agree.
But just remember that you are dealing with 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old that sometimes they can make a mistake. They may
They want to play, Leo. They want to play the game. They have to follow the rules. That's it.
The coaches have to take the responsibility for being coaches and
I
hold these
agree.
kids to the level that they're supposed to. That's all.
Yeah, that's it.
All right,
We all
I'm
agree.
gonna start. I'll start there, and I will send out follow-ups when we get this in place. And if there's no more questions, this would complete the city manager's report for the COW.
Okay, need a motion to open to the public?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. This time, anybody from the public who'd like to speak, please come forward, unmute your phone or your iPad or whatever device you're using, state your name and give it to the clerk, please.
I'd like to speak if I may.
Sure.
Richard Salkin, Hackensack. Just two issues, traffic issues, actually. The new traffic light in front of Court Plaza, when you're driving south, say you're making a right turn off of, what is that, Sussex? You can't see it. You can't see the light. You can't see what color it is. You have to drive up, when you think it's green, halfway into that little intersection. I'm talking about opposite the triangle, I guess I'll call it. You can't see it. Something's wrong with that. You know, get someone. I'd ask the city manager, get somebody out there, and it just doesn't work.
Rick, you're talking at Main Street in Sussex or
Yes.
State Street in Sussex?
Main Street. You make the right turn off of Sussex to go south. There's a light there. The light was always there. Now it's facing the southbound traffic. You can't see what color it is until you pull up. Oh, it is green, so I can keep going. That's one thing. Second thing, you have what I'll call a mildly blinking pedestrian crossing light at the intersection, again, of Sussex and State Street, which is a good thing. You really need to put those in by the crosswalk up by the hospital in both directions.
I agree.
And the hospital ought to pay for it because 90% of people crossing there at least are their employees. And it can't be that expensive. You really, please look into those things, and I hope you'll do them. It's interesting to listen to you talking about the sports. I went to the COVID testing at the high school parking lot Wednesday, and there was some young men playing soccer, and I said, "Is that okay?" They were just doing drills though. So, and they seem to be, you might want to coordinate with the school system. There must be input from the state athletic conference, whatever it's called, association, that might give you some information. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just as a matter of record, the state, I think, is now going to require parents, high school athletes, parents to sign off on them in order to play, like a waiver.
I didn't see a coach, but it looked like they were doing what they should have been doing. Maybe it was a captain's practice, but I was told by people there who were associated with the school system that, oh, no, it's okay. They're permitted to do that now.
All right. Thank you. Next, please. Anybody from the public?
Yes, this is Barbara Maxey.
Could you speak up a little bit, ma'am? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Hi, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
A little bit.
Okay. Hi, this is Barbara Maxby. I have two children in Hackensack, and I'm also a volunteer softball coach. And I just wanted to say that I do agree that we should definitely push forward, provided that all the coaches and parents are on the same page as far as obviously the safety of our kids comes first. You know, but I do see a decline in my kids wanting to be active. And I think it's important that we all come together slowly, but in baby steps if we have to ensure that we get these kids out there. You know, I know my son is starting, he's a freshman this year. Well, he will be in September, and football is starting. And I've witnessed it at the high school. And I think that we have a great amount of parents, kids, and coaches. And I think that we're all ready to get them out there and ensure that our kids are able to have that time back with their peers. You know, that's just my opinion. I want to thank you guys for everything. I know it's been really hard, but I just want to see us take it to a next level and be able to stay within our town, because I have had my child play out of town before, and I really prefer to be in town with our community.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
I got a question. Would you, Barbara, agree to sign a waiver if your son gets sick or anything happens? Would you sign a waiver saying you won't sue the city of Hackensack?
Absolutely, because as a parent, it's my responsibility, as well as making sure I stay in communication with the coaches, that I ensure my son's safety is first. So I will take a precaution as a parent and a coach to make sure that everyone under my watch, whether it be my child or a child that's under my care at the time, I make sure that each one of them are doing what they have to do to stay safe. So I will sign something because I feel very confident in the people that are working with my children.
Well, if I may, I just, would caution the council that, even if we do go forward as you're analyzing this issue, there certainly is some question about whether a waiver would eliminate any potential liability on behalf of the city. So, I certainly wouldn't suggest that, a waiver would solve all of these issues, even if they were signed. It might be helpful, but obviously right now, everybody's trying to figure out what everybody's legal exposure is with respect to COVID-19. So, don't take that as a silver bullet to address any concerns you might have. You still are obligated to, make sure you implement a safe program in your judgment, whatever that might be.
Thank you. Next person from the audience, please.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Frank Castidi. I own a business near Route 80, and I use quite frequently the entrances to Route 80 going east and Route 80 going west. And I've been there for over 30 years, and I've seen quite a bit of accidents on Kennedy Parkway, right at the intersection where everybody goes into the highway. People from coming from State Street, they have a blind curve, so they come with a certain speed and they're unable to stop. I've spoken to many people about this for the last 20 years, and some changes were made, but not that particular. There should be a sign warning people that there's a blind curve and there's going to be an intersection coming up, so they'll be able to proceed with caution.
Okay. All right, Frank, what we're going to do is recommend to the city manager of traffic goes down and evaluates. I know exactly where you're talking about. That curve is is a blind curve.
Right.
And see if they can address it with some new signage, maybe something lit, a solar light.
Is he talking about where you would have to make the left to get on 80 and those people swing by that around?
Correct. Correct. The people that are coming from like State Street.
Understood.
Right.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll be willing to to cooperate if it needs to.
Sir, we appreciate your input. The clerk will have your information. If I have any conflicts or problems, I will certainly reach back out to you. But I think I have a clear understanding, because I travel that way at a minimum on my way home every day.
Correct. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Next, please.
Hi, Gary Tizano. Getting back to the sports issue, I came in a little bit late on the comments. I think Stephanie was speaking when I came on. I just have a question for Steph and Dave, even the mayor, and I'm thinking of myself as a former rec person in town with sports, Leo as well. Human nature. In Stephanie's case, the kids are young. They have to be guided by the parents as well as the coaches. So let's say situation pops up where one parent comes to the game, the mother's already there. Could be the mother, could be the father. And maybe he's had a few beers, the father, and he shows up and he's not wearing his mask. So who's in charge over and above the two coaches? I mean, people don't want to be confrontational, but who's going to go and tell that person, you know what, either get your mask on or leave the area? It's a critical, tight issue. I know a friend of mine, as an example, went into ShopRite last week, forgot to have his mask in. He was helping a senior citizen in the neighborhood, and everybody was looking at him strangely in ShopRite, and he couldn't figure it out until finally somebody must have whispered, hey, you didn't have your mask on. No one on staff in ShopRite came to him and said, excuse me, sir, and explained it to him. So this is what we're facing today in today's world with the virus. A lot of people do not want to be involved to tell the other person this is the way it's supposed to be. So I think that's critical, no matter where or what type of sports teams or even in meetings we have. So it's just a question I want to put out to Stephanie and Dave on that, to see if that's, and even city manager, on how you're going to work with that without having a major issue on the field.
One of the rules is not just the confrontational part, but once a child is, in their location, whether it's a dugout or sitting next to a dugout, the parents are not allowed to come back over. They are the child's to go to the dugout, sit there, and parents have to be away from their children. They're not even allowed. Most fields that we've been at said the parents have to sit in the outfield. They're not allowed to sit by the athletes in the dugout. They have certain designated areas. So once you start to see a parent come over, and I haven't witnessed it yet, so I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the next step is because it hasn't happened yet, and I hope it doesn't happen. But they don't come by us. They sit in their designated areas, and even the athletes are not allowed to go back to their parents. If they're told, get your water, get everything, you are not to go back to your parents or any other spectators to get anything until the end of the game.
Gary, we already said if they have one mistake like that, they're out. So we dealt with that already.
Well, not necessarily, Dave. You have parents, maybe even grandparents, coming to watch the little ones, and I believe Stephanie's talking about under 10 years old, roughly, because those are the kids, okay? But how are you going to tell somebody that's coming as a spectator when in public we're all supposed to be wearing the mask according to the governor? It's a big question.
Gary, it's already mandatory, or yes, it's up to you?
I think, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Ted and Mayor, Murphy says wear a mask in public.
If you can't
social distance, right? If you can't social distance.
Social distance, you have to wear a mask. In other words, if you're standing 4 feet from somebody, you have to have a mask. If you're standing 7, you really don't get the possible.
Right.
So there's no way that you can enforce it. Right. If the guy is 10 feet away, watching the game by a tree, by himself.
However, the city could implement under the executive order under the COVID that all park use will require the wearing of masks. If not, you could be asked to leave the property because of the exposure. So it's just a question of how far this goes, and quite candidly, based on the numbers that are going to come up, I'm really fearful personally that we're going to be right back at it again here when all these people now return back from vacation to their respective communities, and then we'll see what kind of outbreaks we have with exposure, which is sad.
So then you have to enforce that rule that everybody has to use the mask, only in case a medical condition is excused, but then everybody should use the mask in the city of Hackensack.
Many parks have the guidelines, signs. They have signs on the fence and at the entrance of the park of what their guidelines are and what they have to practice.
Steve, did I explain that improperly? Could the city establish a rule under the current crisis that everybody will be required to wear a mask in any of the city parks, period?
Any reason why we couldn't do that? I mean, obviously, people follow the news, in Georgia, where the governor went after the mayor of the city of Atlanta, who issued a mandatory mask order. And I can check all the executive orders, but if to the best of my recollection, the executive orders say that local government authorities have the power to establish rules and regulations for the use of city parks. So, ultimately, if that was to be required, top of my head, I think we could do it, but obviously something we would reconfirm if that's the direction the city wants to go.
But except remember, one of the rules is if you are sitting with your family, like see a father, mother, and 3, 4 kids, they don't enforce the rules.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
how are we going to know that?
Well,
Like that's a lot of manpower. Going to go and ask who's related and who's not. I mean, if you're going to make the teams do it, then every single person in the park's going to do it.
Stephanie, I don't talk about the baseball game. I talk about the regular people that go to the parks.
Right, but that's going to be hard to enforce.
I know, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, it's not so much the enforcement. I doubt you're going to do that. It's more sending a message that it's the right thing to do. As I said, I don't think you're going to be sending, Dean or a bunch of people into the parks all day long to, hey, are you related or not? It's more, putting up the signs saying it's a city requirement, and hopefully most people voluntarily comply with it. And, look, if it gets really bad, then you have to address other issues. But you tell people, look, you want to have parks, you want to be able to go in them and enjoy yourself, then these are the rules you're going to have to follow. And if enough people are not following them, then you're going to have to, restrict park access or take other steps. And in that way, you encourage people to comply without actually, becoming overly intrusive into their personal affairs. So
you have to worry, Stephanie, about the people that are the parents of the kids and the kids themselves. The rest of the people, you don't have to worry, That's not your problem.
That's not true, Leo.
Everybody's problem.
Well, it's no way that you're going to enforce it. It's no way that you as a parent, you can go to another person and say, where is your mom? If they want to enforce that, you have to have some deputies in the park to enforce the rule. It's not up to a parent, go to another parent and say, where is your mom? Because then you're going to have confrontation between the people themselves. If you want to enforce it, right, you have to need some deputies in the park because you don't want confrontation between parents or residents. There's no way you can enforce it. Only if you have a deputy around the area. And they got that. They got that in the beach. They got that in the parks,
If Baseball of Hackensack wants to have baseball, this is something that they got to look into.
Well, this should be handled at the rec level too. So.
Right.
All right, next
Peter
person.
Marcazzani, Davis Avenue. I thought maybe we can move on to an easy topic and get on to solving world hunger. I think that would be a lot easier to do. Just a comment on athletics. Am I correct in assuming that there's not going to be any attempt at all to open the splash pads? That would be something that would be totally unacceptable to the city. I mean, do we recycle water? Is it chlorinated water? Any way we could schedule limited access to certain kids at a time? I don't know. Any thought given to that?
It's allowable by the state, but a lot of people are not opening their pools and splash pads. So.
Yeah, I know. We with the heat wave and everything, it's just, of course, people can still go under the hose. I guess we could open fire hydrants. But it's just the fact that we have these two facilities and we have kids that would be crying to get out, and if there's limited liability in terms of spacing, and if they're in the water, they're constantly being flushed. Where they go when they leave the pad, I guess, would be just as it's in any park. They'd have to go sit aside with their parents, put a mask on, and not put a mask on as long as they were socially distant. But while they're on the pad being saturated with water, am I correct in thinking that that's chlorinated? It probably is not, but it is recycled?
No, it is. I would say that it's safe. I saw many cities that got open the splash pad. Like New York, they opened the swimming pools.
See,
just something to think about. I mean, given the heat wave, and we're going to have it for a while for sure.
Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to make the comment. We would certainly consider the problem is because of the shutdown, we didn't hire any lifeguards. We didn't hire any part-time staff. We don't have people left over from summer rec camp. So, because none of this is taken off, we haven't done this. So if it's the wishes of the mayor and council, could we open up the splash pads? Yes. Is it going to take a fair period of time to hire staff and get this back open again? Yeah, it is, because none of these people are on standby and none of these people were retained because, one day it's this and look, I'm not beating the governor up, but, we've changed from pillar to post here on more occasions than I care to mention. The second that I ended that there was going to be no summer camp, it was almost 10 days or 2 weeks later, the governor says, oh, now you can have camp. Well, we don't have anybody hired. We don't have anybody placed. We haven't printed anything up. There's no schedule. All of this just doesn't happen overnight or by osmosis. That's the problem.
Well, something we're going to have to discuss, but there's not a lot of time because summer's burning up here. We're halfway through it.
Yep.
Next.
Okay, were you done, Pete? Next.
I'm done. I muted myself. Thank you.
Next person from the public, please.
Hi, I'm Steve Thompson. I'm a lifelong resident of Hackensack. I am on the board for both soccer and for baseball and softball. I have 2 kids that are in the public schools. My concern today isn't so much about the rec program. There's been a lot of discussion about that already. And I have my own feelings on that. But my concern is more about what is and is not allowed currently in our city parks. 2 nights ago, I was at a park with my own 2 children kicking a ball around, and a police officer came by and removed us from the park. She told us that we were not allowed to be there, but that baseball was allowed. We were not within 50, 60 feet of anybody else who was in the park. It was just the 2 of us. That night, there were 20-something adults playing a game of futsal on the blacktop at Baldwin, and all of their children, easily 20 kids, were on the softball field playing another game of soccer or kickball. That same game goes on day after day after day. To me, that's scary. That's risky. I agree with what Councilman Tagley was saying. Soccer has an inherent risk of contact. So I understand wanting to restrict that, but there are signs on the parks that say that nothing is allowed, but then some things are enforced, some things aren't enforced. And the officer who removed us from the field said to me, baseball is allowed. So if you come back and play baseball with your children, that's acceptable, but you're not allowed to kick a soccer ball. So my question is, what is and is not allowed at the fields at this time? My daughter is a pitcher in softball. Am I allowed to play catch with her in the park, or do I have to do that in my backyard? What is and is not acceptable?
To my understanding, and I don't know why the police officer said that to you, sir, is that there are no games. If you want to show up there in the park and throw the Frisbee, kick a ball around, and it's you and your 2 children, I think by all means, if you can call my office, the city manager's office tomorrow, if you have your name, or supply me with the date so I can track this down. There's clearly a miscommunications here, because I do not think that you were given proper instruction from the police officer.
Okay, I appreciate that. It was just the two of us. It was 3 nights ago. And, you know, to me, going out, getting some exercise, as Councilman Rooney
So
was
are
saying,
you referring to Friday night, sir?
it was either Thursday or Friday night.
What time?
You know, I'd have to go back and check. It was maybe 5 o'clock.
If you can call, I don't want to take up everybody's time. If you could call my office tomorrow with some clear facts or as much as you can remember, I'll track this down and I'll get back to you, sir.
Okay, I really appreciate it. So theoretically, I am allowed to go to the park and kick a ball with my children. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, Mayor.
Anyone else from the public?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hi, it's Regina DePasqua. One thing on the splash parks, because they're green acres, they would have to be open to everybody, all of New Jersey. You cannot limit it to Hackensack residents. So that would be an issue. And also the staff, that would be a problem. Also with the organized sports, I have seen this done in other places where in addition to a waiver, there's a code of conduct that is signed by the family and the coach has it, and it has, and this time you could have consequences. You don't wear a mask, you know, you take out the code of conduct for that family. It would require the coach knowing what family is with which child, but in these times you kind of should know that anyway. When you're, you know, have kids with you, you should know who they belong to. It would be pretty simple, and if you could, you know, tailor it to each sport as to what, you know, soccer or baseball or whatever, what they need. And I've seen other towns do that. And even when they were thinking of opening up camps, they had the waivers and code of conduct, and, you know, they ended up not opening the camps for the same reason we didn't, because it was canceled and it was on, and then, you know, people made other plans. But it's just my 2 cents on 2 topics. Thank you.
Thank you.
So are you saying, since it's green acres, if I want to take 9 kids and want to hit a softball around and we social distance, that's going to be okay?
I was talking about the splash park. As far as that, the green acres, all our parks are open to everybody, all New Jersey residents, because every one of our parks is green acres. So you do not have to be a Hackensack resident to use our parks. You knew that, right? We went through this once before when the Carver Park Splash Park opened.
Yep.
Anybody in New Jersey can use a Green Acres Park, and every one of our parks is Green Acres.
Yeah.
So if you open up the splash parks, you're opening them up to potentially everyone.
Yeah.
That's all I'm pointing out.
Yeah. And if I may, you know, I think in a general sense that is true. You know, we've looked at this issue, and when there are, you know, substantial capacity issues, like with certain indoor facilities, there may be some way to have priority for city residents, but we'd have to look at that very, very carefully if that became an issue, because I agree. The general principle is that they need to be open and non-restrictive, and places like Mawa have deviated from that at their extreme peril. So if that is an issue, we can look at that and see if there is, you know, some way that there can be, you know, some level of priority, but you know, I can't guarantee it without looking at it very carefully.
We went through this when the Carver Park Splash Park opened, and the state got involved. Can't do it.
Yeah, you don't want the state to get involved in a Green Acres issue. It rarely ends well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next person from the public. Seeing none, motion to close.
Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Cam. My last name is Martinez. I'm a resident here in Hackensack. My son is also at the public school, and he plays baseball with a travel team here in Hackensack. I just want to add that we do have a safety officer in place. Parents know ahead of time what is expected from them as far as social distancing and not interacting with the children and everything else that's involved. And everyone has taken responsibility from our team to make sure that whatever family members that are coming to see the game, or our own behavior and our children's behavior, you know, is following every rule, because we do respect the fact that COVID is very real and that we can get sick, but everyone happens to be following the guidelines. And I agree with Stephanie when she says that, you know, we should open up our fields for baseball because we are taking every precaution that we can in this sport. So if it's an option, I would really love for you guys to consider it.
I agree with you, but I would just say this: if an outbreak would happen, I would seriously, you know, most likely have to ask that the city close again an outbreak due to it. But I'm in favor of opening it up. But like I said, my grandson's playing ball, and I totally agree with Councilwoman Bloomberg's theory on mental health for these kids. It's not just for these kids; it's for these parents and grandparents to see their children go out and perform and play as well. It's for their well-being, their mental well-being, and you know, long term, the mental part of this whole pandemic could be worse than the pandemic itself. So,
thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
I just want to say a couple of people are in the waiting room that I admitted that are still, it's saying that they're still joining. So I don't maybe want to give them a second to see if they're having a problem, to see if they have a comment as well. So I admitted them.
So I was just say, if they can hear us, we have 6 minutes till the next meeting. If they don't get in the next couple minutes, I would suggest ending it and they can have their comment at the next meeting.
So they just joined. So
okay.
If they have a comment, I guess they can say it now.
Hi, my name's Shirley Abraham. I am, as Cam just mentioned, I am the said safety officer currently for the travel baseball team of Hackensack, and I just want to assure you guys that we do realize how real COVID is, how prevalent it is around everywhere. It's all around the world right now, and that we, the parents and the people that are taking responsibility for playing the sport and bringing our children to these sports are also taking the necessary precautions and making sure that our children are kept safe. And especially since we're playing from, you know, children from other towns and we're encountering families from other towns, everyone is social distancing. Everyone is taking the precautions when the kids are coming on the field and off the field, just to set anybody's mind at ease. So, again, if there's any ever questions, and just like Stephanie said, you know, this is important for the kids. This is, you know, as adults, we're finding different ways to cope. For children, their worlds have been turned upside down. So this is something that, you know, it's easy enough to do with the necessary precautions in place, to let the children have a little bit of something for the summer, especially since their worlds have been completely turned upside down. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else from the public? Motion to close to the public?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not opposed? Okay. Getting off of this one and going on to the other one, correct, Frank?
You need to close this one.
Close the meeting, John.
Motion to close executive session and the closed session.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrosse.
Aye.
Okay.
Yes, you have to close out of this one and join the next meeting to join the other council meeting, the council meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
We got like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, we'll take 5.
Bathroom break. I'll see you at the next meeting.
Yep. Bye.